What a time to be alive, people. It's official. The NHL season is here, and the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast is shifting into high gear. Steele and I are getting serious, starting with today's episode. Thank you for being here. Let's get this paper, people.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back inside the lab that is the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, alongside your boys, Steele Roden and Big Flip Livingstone. It has arrived, everybody. The 2022-23 season in the NHL world has arrived. And this means this podcast is about to get real serious, people. So thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode features everything that you need to know from the world of hockey, including a breakdown of this international global series in Prague between the Nashville Predators and San Jose Sharks. Steele and I have a couple of hot fantasy takes that you're going to want to hear about this. And of course, breaking down all the details for this draft tonight. Some of you listeners out there are stepping into the arena with Steele and I, and things are going to get a little spicy. And of course, with hockey back, people, we're going to be doing this every single Monday episode. Waiver wire specials, players that you have to have your eye on. Steele, let's get right to it, my friend. Hockey was back already. We're teasing the official kickoff. But, we had two games between the Preds and the Sharks. We saw a little regular season action, and I'm intrigued to see what you saw on the ice, because this could already mean some of those sneaky players you want to keep your eyes on. Eeli Tolvanen, he's looked good. Who do you have your eye on? What are your takeaways? What have you seen aside from, I know you're excited to have hockey?
Yeah, well, my first takeaway, honestly, was like the NHL did a pretty bad job at promoting this global series. I don't think a lot of people knew that the NHL regular season was starting this, on Friday. So they didn't do a great job of promoting the global series in Prague between the Nashville Predators and San Jose Sharks. But I really loved what I saw from the Nashville Predators. I know it's the first two games of the season, but they're making my bold prediction look absolutely fantastic right now with being a top three team. To be honest with you, I thought they dominated both games. I know they were down early in the second game, but I thought there was domination for the Nashville Predators. They got great goaltending from both UC Saros and Kevin Lankinen. So Kevin Lankinen stopped 29 shots. 29 shots. He faced 31, so he let 2 goals in. But a 3-2 win for Kevin Lankinen to start his his NHL season with the new team with the Nashville Predators. Nino Niederreiter, though, Flip. We talked a little bit about him and the addition that the Predators made this offseason for him. 3 goals in 2 games. On that second line, he's already producing as well. That's a guy that people should keep an eye out later in drafts, maybe a little bit earlier in drafts as well. I really liked what I saw from him. Cody Glass as well. I don't know if people saw that, little snippet of him with David Pohl that he was going to get brought to the global series with the Nashville Predators. He was tearing up. He was super happy about that. Obviously exciting news, but I thought he played great as well because, he's dealt with some injuries the last couple of seasons. And honestly, Ryan Johansson, Philip Forsberg, Roman Josi, all those top guys were absolutely producing on fire. And I really just liked what I saw from the Nashville Predators.
I like that you brought up David Poyle because, look, the on-ice product that we're seeing with the Nashville Predators, they don't reload. They just tinker. There's no rebuilding with the Nashville Predators. David Poyle is a mastermind. Steele's smiling right now. If you're just listening to this episode, I've talked at length about David Poyle. This guy knows his hockey players. This is one of the most deep organizations in hockey when it comes to farming their own talent, and you're seeing it very early in this season. Very minor moves. Ryan McDonough, Nino Niederreiter, already paying dividends in 2 games. I know it's 2 games, but I'm going to talk a little bit about Nino Niederreiter later in this episode because already worth a look. If we're talking about waiver wire, we're going to get in the show. From the takeaway of the Nashville Predators 2 game steal, there are 2 players on the San Jose Sharks that we can't ignore in Bill Meyer and Thomas Hertl. because the San Jose Sharks might be a mess this year, but those two players are going to have time seasons, and they are real fantasy targets.
Yeah, and there's actually one more player I have eyeing for the waiver wire that we'll get to later in the episode. But of course, Tomas Hertl and Timo Meier are the superstars for the San Jose Sharks team. Looking at what I saw from the blue line, I didn't see a lot from the, Erik Karlsson. Obviously, it's the first two games. We're going to see him have to get back into the groove of things, but he's got to be the leader for the defenseman on the San Jose Sharks team. There's no question about that in my mind. And hopefully Timo Meier and Tomas Hertl can really get this Sharks team going.
There is no real way to expect anything of any significance from the San Jose Sharks this year. Looking at what we saw, you should be excited if you're a Nashville Predators fan. We just got to keep bringing these angles from the fantasy side of things, people, because it is about to get serious around here. And Tomas Hertl and Timo Meier are legit. The rest of the San Jose Sharks team is garbo. We will see how of this year shakes out, but we might be patting ourselves on the back a few more times about these Nashville Predators predictions because they're just that balanced. Speaking of which, Athletic Greens, balanced, energetic, feeds you those high quality vitamins, minerals, and probiotics to help you start your day right. Athletic Greens special blend of ingredients that supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system. It helps you recover and age with grace. I don't know what I need to say. It's good before or after the gym. For health and arm your immune system with the convenient daily nutrient of AG1 from Athletic Greens. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a year free of immunity and 5 free travel packs your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership of health and ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Don't forget, we are free and available on all podcast platforms, which also includes YouTube. We are almost at 500 subscribers. That was our goal. We wanted to get to 500 subscribers before the regular season started. So, obviously the Global Series happened this past weekend, but we're going till Tuesday. So hopefully we can get 7 subscribers by Tuesday before the NHL games start that day as well. But again, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing. We really, Flip and I really appreciate all of you out there tuning in. And real quick, before we get to the waiver wire ads for this upcoming week, we want to talk a little bit about the fan-based fantasy league. As of right now, we have 11 out of 12 spots filled. We are still waiting on one of the listeners to join the league. We emailed him. We sent him the link. We DM'd him on Twitter 3 or 4 times. We've got no response so far. So be on standby if you're listening right now. We may need one more listener to join the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast Fantasy League. So again, be on standby. Keep your emails open. Keep your Twitter open as well. Check your DMs because we might be sending you a message last minute around 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock on Monday, October 10th to join the Fantasy League with us. And with that being said, Flip, I'm really excited for this league. I know everyone that's joined so far has messaged us as well. Super excited. They're happy they were able to join. They're super excited to, go head-to-head with one of us. And as of right now, I don't know if it's finalized, but it looks like you and I are going up head-to-head in the first week.
Well, don't things just continue a little bit more interesting, Steele? And hey, straight up and down, this is just a blessing for us. We're grateful to be able to do it. Thanks for all the interest, all the listeners. Appreciate that. And at the end of the day, Steele, you and I come on here because we have hockey. We love to talk fantasy sports. And I'm just intrigued to step in here with some of our fans, some of our listeners, because the fact that they're probably just as in tune with the fantasy hockey game. But, you and I, we put our names on the line here. So it's time to put our money where our mouths are. And shout out to everyone who's already in the league. Tonight is stay tuned for our recap of the draft. Steele and I are discussing here of how we share share this out with our who aren't in the league right now. Might open a league 2.0. There might be a half-season league. There's going to be a lot more opportunities for you to show up and put in with Steele and I. So I think at the end of the day, pal, it is the draft. I'm excited to see what happens. And, hey, we might have to do a couple of these because all the interest is clearly showing us people want to, step in the cage with us.
I think most likely, the episode will be broken into 2 or 3 parts, depending on how long it goes. Because, look, there's 12. Yeah, there's 12 teams. It's a 20 roster size limit for each team as well. A minute for each pick too. So, depending on the people, they could go to the 5-second mark every single pick, which might drag it out. But that makes it better for us. It extends the episodes, so it might be broken out into 2 or 3 parts. For the next couple of days, and you'll hear all of the picks. You'll hear our take and our analysis at the end of the episodes as well. So stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned for that, pal. And hey, look, that's why we're getting into this waiver wire content right away, because you really can't afford to sleep or slack on any of the opportunities to get a leg up, especially if it's a week-to-week league. You go down on your records a couple of weeks in a row, Steele. It's hard to bounce back. So I think that's why these conversations are so important. We will be bringing you that fire content all season long. Waiver wire ads, injury replacements, updates. Steele and I are going to be on it 5 episodes a week, Monday to Friday. So make sure you keep it tuned and locked here. Speaking of which, if you're okay with it, I would like to kick off some of our waiver targets.
Let's do it.
Appreciate that. I have 3. I think you have 3. The Vegas Golden Knights, you talked about, I think we talked about the Columbus Blue Jackets as a team we can't put our finger on. I think you said the Dallas Stars we can't really put our finger on. Vegas Golden Knights might be right there as well. I can't tell if they're going to be a vast improved team or completely garbage. I can't tell. And obviously the Robin Leonard injury weighs into that heavily. But the top line with Jack Eichel now, a full season and off season in the mix here. Jonathan Marchessault on the right side and Reilly Smith on the left side. Reilly Smith has been a steady producer at 40 to 50 points, 55 points every year. He also usually has dual eligibility, Steele, left and right wing. He is going to get a look on that top line with Eichel and Marchessault right now. Yahoo Leagues owned 12% and under. I really like Reilly Smith for a look in this first couple of weeks. And again, I'm trying to throw the caveats here. I'm hedging my bets because I don't know what the Vegas Golden Knights are going to do. But the fact that he's lined up alongside Marchessault and Eichel, and he's only at 12% owned Steele, I will be taking a look at him on the waiver wire this week, 100%.
I like that you bring that up, and I like the fact that Vegas actually shifted Marchessault and I'm blanking on the name that you just said. It's not William.
They've moved around some pieces, Marchessault, Smith.
Yeah, they've moved around, but I like the fact that guys up because I know from the last couple of years, Mark Stone has found some chemistry as well. With Chandler Stevenson that I've seen them play together. That's what Vegas is going to need to do to be successful. They're going to need to shift people up and down and kind of share the love a little bit. We know that Marchessault, Carlson play well together, but they're going to have to shift those people up. So I like the fact that you brought him up. My first player that I'm looking at, and I know you're going to love this because you've talked about Elias Patterson, and I know you've talked about this guy, is Andrei Kuzmenko. I'm looking at him for the waiver wire as well. He's only owned at 33% on ESPN leagues. And
that's actually pretty high.
We've talked a lot about
33%.
It's a little high. It's a little high for me. But you've talked a lot about Elias Patterson. I know a lot of people think Elias Patterson is going to be one of those breakout players this year. And if he's breaking out and Kuzmenko is playing on the left wing with him, that's an opportunity right there to take a chance on Kuzmenko, who has well. So that's my first player at 33%. It is a little bit high, but again, if he's playing with Patterson and he's going to have a breakout season, he's going to have a good first season in the NHL as well.
A lot of hype, no NHL sample size, but hey, he's immediately going to get that opportunity. You and I like to talk about this because even though we're not sure about what he's going to do, if he's going to get thrown out there 15, 16, 17 minutes a night with some of these great offensive pieces in Vancouver, who again, Steele, I think maybe the Canucks might be a bit of a we don't know where they're land kind of a team. but we know they're going to score goals. So I think that's worth a look for sure. You know, I got to show a bit of love to your secondary team, Steele, the Minnesota Wild, because I know you've been paying attention, and I know you have talked a little bit about Marco Rossi. 10% owned.
I just picked him up. I just picked him up in my other league, actually.
Thank you. 10% owned or less in most leagues.
Yeah.
Led the NHL in assists and points in the preseason. I know it's the preseason. +6. He looked good. He saw a little bit of time with Key Real, the Thrill, the Bill Kaprizov as well. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm not going to try and say here the Ryan Hartman-Zuccarello combination is going to get busted up. But we know this. The Minnesota Wild's depth after that front top line, they're going to be shifting players. Talking about shifting players around. Marco Rossi, might be projected as the third or fourth line. I could see him going all the way up to second.
Yeah.
If Ryan Hartman struggles a little bit, Marco Rossi will be on that top line in a heartbeat, Steele. And at 10% owned, I am willing to take a shot on him early because I'll tell you this. In about a month's time, that percentage owned on Marco Rossi, regardless of overall how we think he'll do, that's going way
going
up. So jump on it now, people, and thank me later.
And I think we can expect big things from Marco Rossi and Matthew Boldy as well. They're going to be, shifted up and down the lineup because they're that versatile and they're that skilled that they can play with a lot of players.
I agree.
But again, we don't know where they're going to be starting at the start of the season with the Wild. But with this guy that I have in mind, we do know where he's going to be playing because of all the injuries to the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's Nicholas Robertson. As of right now, it looks like William Nylander is playing center again on the second line. He's playing with Robertson and Dennis Malgin. By the way, Dennis Malgin has looked really good in the preseason as well. I tried looking him up.
Here.
I'm not going to. Okay. I'll take it back. But I thought this was funny though because
it's been a rough couple of days with the Toronto Blue Jays. It is a great time for sports, but men's are a little emotionally fragile right now. So if you could just take it easy on the Dennis Malgin takes, I'd appreciate it.
I'll take it easy, but I thought this was funny because I actually searched him up on ESPN. He's not even an option yet. You can't even select him.
Thank you. Yeah, pump those brakes, pal.
Nicholas Robertson, he's only owned at 5% right now on ESPN leagues. Like I said, he's finally getting that opportunity, which he hasn't been able to get the last couple of seasons.
Yeah.
Because of all these injuries to start for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's playing on the second line with William Nylander, who we know is a skilled offensive player.
Yes.
Nicholas Robertson is one of those players who can grind in the corners, get in those dirty areas, and be that production offensively with William Nylander as well. He's going to get some power play time on the second unit, maybe even some PK time. I'm not sure as of right now, but for sure power play time. And I just like Robertson because he looked really great in the preseason as well. And being on that second line with William Nylander can really help his career.
Nicholas Robertson is one of these players that's been floating around Toronto Maple Leaf fan circles and conversations for the past couple of years. Little bit of a taste in the NHL. He looked good a couple of times. Then he's invisible. Is his size an issue? The offensive upside with Nicholas Robertson is not the problem. It's can he hang at the NHL level?
Yeah.
And maybe an opportunity with these injuries is what he needs to really get that chance, because I think what we can both agree on, he really hasn't had a fair kick at the can. So I would like to see what he has. Run him out there for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Let's see what he can do. Can he form some chemistry? Because, man, Willie Nylander and some of these guys, say what you want about the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs. These guys can score goals, and they have a lot of skill. That's what I'm kind of getting sick and tired with some of this Toronto backlash and some of this hate, because I understand playoff performance, but that isn't fantasy hockey production. That isn't offensive talent, because in spades, those players have it. So Nicholas Robertson, I like that pick, Steele.
I will say this real quick, though.
Please. When
John Tavares comes back from injury as well, he's going to get slotted again on the second line center. William Nylander will shift over to the right wing instead of Dennis Malgin. And I will say that Robertson will remain on that second line with Tavares and Nylander.
Well, I'll also say this. There's been far too much Dennis Malgin content in this episode. So let me move on to a player that I think was maybe the most underrated signing of the offseason in Nito Niederreiter. And I understand that it's 2 games. And I know it's overseas and it almost feels like exhibition play. But the Nashville Predators weren't joking around. They went there for business and they came away with 4 points. No big deal. Also, Nino Niederreiter scored 3 goals, all at even strength with a brand new team. And I like you pegged the Mikael Granlund chemistry. I can already see that developing. Nino Niederreiter is one of those sneaky little fantasy targets that you want to keep your eye on. Also, at only 22% owned in fantasy leagues, you can probably snag him up. Do I think he's going to be a goal per game player? Absolutely not. But 25 and 25 is very realistic with some upside. Don't sleep on Nino Niederreiter. Go out there and get him while he's hot as well to start your league off right, season off right.
Look, he was one of the highlights for me in this Global Series. And like you said, 3 goals in 2 games, all even strength. He had 44 points last year with the Carolina Hurricanes in 75 games. There's no question he can get back to that, even maybe 50 points. Again, with that chemistry he seems to be forming already on that second line. I really like that. But I'm going to go to someone who he played against and actually scored on in the first game. James Reimer. If you're looking for a third string goalie to cycle in, I know the San Jose Sharks are not going to be a great team. But I really like James Reimer in this situation. He's only owned at 12%. I'm not saying to draft him first as your first goalie. I'm not saying draft him as your second goalie, but as a third string goalie that you can cycle in every now and again, maybe even just pick him up on the waiver wire like we're talking about, just every every couple of weeks if you need a goalie win, or if he's going to be playing that game. He's the better option, in my opinion, than Kaapo Kähkönen. Kähkönen did not play great in that second game. I really like James Reimer. He might not be the most talented goalie, but he puts everything on the line, 100% of everything he puts into the game. And that's what I love so much about James Reimer. And not to get sentimental here, but, I'm thinking back of the Optimus Prime days. He was absolutely legendary. It was great to have him. Prayers up. But I really like James Reimer as a goalie. He puts everything out there on the line, like I said. And at 12%, you can grab him as a third string goalie.
That is a bit of a bold take. I don't know if I have enough energy or, gas in the tank here, Steele, to go down the James Reimer, Dennis Malgin rabbit hole that you're trying to spin us off in here. So I'm going to take the high road and say, yes, maybe in the right format. James Reimer is definitely a consistent backup goalie who's going to get probably the number 1 share of the minutes. But I don't know if I'm here just yet for the James Reimer takes. But I appreciate you, and I appreciate this episode. Why don't you take us away?
Yeah, I thought it's been a pretty good episode so far. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. For your second listen, though, go check out Locked On NHL. Locked On experts give you a daily 30-minute podcast on all things NHL all year long. Locked On NHL, your daily 30-minute NHL podcast. It's free and available wherever you get your podcast, just like this one. So I'll say it once again. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the follow button. You'll get all the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Remember, be on standby. Check your emails, check your DMs for the Fantasy League. We may have 1 spot open. If you've made any bets today, good luck with your money out there. And we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
See you tonight for the draft, kids.